Hello everyone, hi, it's Karen here. I'm just going to have a little go at doing my first Facebook Live. I was hoping it'd actually come up on my screen so I could see what you can see, but it doesn't seem to want to do that at the moment, which is very helpful. So I'm just going to go for it and we'll see what happens. So today I'm going to make a quick card for you using some products from the Floral Essence suite of products, which are going to be coming out to you in June. So I know it's a little bit naughty of me doing a super early sneak peek, but I needed to make this card and I've got my stand now for doing these lives, so I thought, hey, why not? I'll just hop on and have a go. So I'm going to be using this lovely open image from the stamp set. I'm going to be using some of the papers. I'm going to be using some of the Petal Pink Organdy ribbon, which is lovely. So let's crack on. So the first thing I need to do, I'm starting with a Petal Pink card base. So that's a standard size card base, half a sheet of A4 cut in half. And I've got one of the designs of the lovely Perennial Essence Designer Series paper. So I'm just going to trim that down now because I need that to be just slightly narrower and shorter than my card base. So I'm going to trim it to 14.4 centimetres by 10 centimetres. But I'll keep those little bits and pieces because you never know when they're going to come in handy. Okay, so hopefully now this will give me a nice matten layer on my card. I'm just going to, excuse me a moment, I'm just going to try and get my tablet on again so that I can see if anyone can actually see me and hear me. Oh, my mistake, I was on the wrong piece of, I was on the wrong page. Silly me. Oh, there we go, I can see myself cutting some paper, so yeah, I think I'm in just about the right ballpark. I'm not going to stick that down just yet because I want to put some of the ribbon on it, so I'll just put that to one side. Now next I'm going to stamp the big open flower on some of our shimmery white cardstock. The reason I'm going to use the shimmery white cardstock is because I want to do a little bit of watercolouring, and the shimmery white cardstock can actually handle a little bit of water, not masses, but it can certainly handle a little bit. So I'm going to stamp this lovely open lined image. As you can see, this has been well loved by me already. Because I'm going to be using water, I'm going to use Stays On ink because that's a waterproof ink and it won't move when I add water to my stamped image in a minute. And I did re-ink this morning, so it should give me a lovely crisp black image. Press that down firmly. Oh, I do love the smell of Stays On ink. There we go, that's a lovely crisp image. I'll put that to one side and I'll clean that with my Stays On cleaner in a little while. Just going to give it a little waft now, just to make sure it is properly dry. Stays On dries really, really quickly, but because I re-inked it this morning, I know there is a risk that it could stay wet a little bit longer, but there we go, that's all done now. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of watercolouring to colour this in. Now with our ink pads, this is an older style ink pad, you can give them a good squeeze and you'll get some ink in the lid there. So you can see that I've been doing lots and lots of watercolouring with this ink pad already. So I'm going to take one of our aqua painters, and this is basically it's like a paintbrush, but it's got a barrel of water there and the water automatically runs through. So I'm not going to do anything super fancy. Because I'm not an artist, but I am a crafter. So I'm just going to lay my ink down there, and to get the colour removed, because I want to come in with a different colour now, I just run this along my grid paper there, and that will sort that out. Now I also want to use some Blackberry Bliss ink, but this is a new style ink pad and they can be a little bit more difficult to squidge the lids together. So something we can do is we can just stamp onto a block there and we can pick up some ink. So I'm going to pick up sort of some quite concentrated ink, and I'm just going to start brushing that up around that centre piece there, keeping it reasonably dark. So I'm just adding some Blackberry Bliss ink now to the centre of my flower, and I'm just going to run that a little bit clearer because I want to pull some of that colour out now. I don't want it to be super concentrated. I may need to go in and add a little bit more from my ink, but I'm just going to try and get this to spread out a little bit for me. Okay, so I'm going to want to go in now with some with a bit more diluted ink, so I'm just going to put that onto another block there just to make that a little bit more diluted, and that will allow me to go in and to paint the rest of this flower. And I'm going for a very sort of loose watercolour look. It's not fancy at all. Okay, so that's my flower watercoloured. I'm just going to dry off that block, and I'll put that to one side to give that a clean in a little while. I'll leave my Blackberry Bliss ink out because I actually want to stamp my sentiment onto this piece of shimmery white cardstock as well. So the sentiments here: all days are beautiful that begin with you, with friendly thoughts and best wishes today and every day, and wishing you a blissful future. So I think I'm going to go with friendly thoughts and best wishes for today and every day, because that can work quite nicely as a birthday sentiment. So I'm just going to line that, oh, I hope my head's not in the way, line that up with my grid paper. That's why it's always lovely to work on our grid paper. It's really, really handy. And then I'm going to ink that up with some Blackberry Bliss. I'm just going to do a test run on my grid paper. Yes, I'm really happy with that. And then I'm going to stamp that along the bottom. Not quite sure where I want it to be yet, so I've just placed it in the middle. And then I can decide where I want that to be. Okay, so that's it for my inks. I need to trim off this little sentiment panel. So I'm just going to get my trimmer and have a bit of a guess as to where I want to cut it. Yep, that worked out quite well. Quite happy with that. And I need my snips for the flower because I'm actually going to fussy cut this out. So I'm just going to roughly cut round it for now. I'm not the best fussy cutter in the world, but I'll do my best. I'll try and leave just a little bit of white edge there, so it gives me a little bit of room to play with. Round I go. Hope everybody's having a really lovely bank holiday weekend. Apologies if there are any comments, because I'm pretty new to this and I can't cope with crafting and looking at comments and things as well. Absolute beautiful day here in Northamptonshire. I am going out in a little while. I'm going to go out for lunch with my daughter and granddaughter, but I thought just before I do, I'll hop on and quickly make this card that I needed. And I thought, well, whilst I'm doing that, I may as well share it with you guys too, even though you may well be hopefully out and about in the sun enjoying yourselves, but you can perhaps have a little catch up and watch this later. So there we go. So there's my lovely flower. Now I'm going to try and work out how I want this to look now. I know I want my flower sort of somewhere over there, and I'm perhaps going to pop my sentiment down in the corner there. And I also want to put some ribbon round, so I think I'm going to place my ribbon pretty much centrally across the middle of my card. Now I'm just going to get a little bit of snail. I'm going to run that down the back of my designer series paper, because that will help me to stick my ribbon around. And I'm going to trim off a piece of ribbon that is approximately the width of my designer series paper. I think I might do it sort of perhaps on the lower third. So I'm just going to wrap this around. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want the paper to buckle, but that little bit of snail adhesive is just enough there to grab that for you. So we've got that there, and then I think what I might do is tie a bow. So I like to do bunny ears for bows. So I start off with my 2 bunny ears. I know this is the nemesis of a lot of crafters, and then I tie a knot with my bunny ears. I pull them tight, and then holding the knot, I can then readjust the width of my bows, the length of my loops rather, to where I want them. And this ribbon is nice. You can tie quite a neat little bow with it. So I should just trim that off there, and trim the other side as well, because that's a little bit longer than we need it. and I shall use one of our glue dots to stick the ribbon to the ribbon. So I'll just pop that on the back there and stick that down. Oh yeah, that's really lovely. And that's stuck to my grid paper. Rookie error. I'm now going to use some of our wet glue to stick this down to my card base. So just going to, I will store this glue upside down in a little holder in my craft room because it makes it easier to come out. And then I'm going to stick this onto my petal pink card base, making sure that it's opening up the right way round. So I've got a reasonably equal border all the way round. Lovely. So I'm going to pop that little sentiment down there, but that's a little long. I think I'm just going to trim that up with my scissors on this occasion. I'm not going to get the trimmer out just for that little bit. And I think I'm going to put the watercoloured flower and the sentiment up on some of our stamping dimensionals. So these are double-sided foam adhesive, really handy for adding dimension to your projects. So we'll just peel off the papers. Oh, let's have a look. Do I want it there or do I want it there? Do you know, I think I might actually pop it up. Oh, sorry if that was my head in the way. I think I might actually pop it up the top there. And then just take the adhesive off my adhesive backs off of my dimensionals there. And decide where I want to place my flower. I think I might place it just above. Just above. I haven't got any handy, but of course you could add some nice shiny wink of Stella to that flower to add a little bit more depth of colour. And I'm also going to add in a panel of Whisper White to write on the inside of the card. Now with a lighter colour card base you don't necessarily have to do this, but I just always think it's a bit of a nice finishing touch. And if you want to, you could always stamp the inside of your card and your envelope as well. So there we go, that's my card finished for today. Thank you very much for those that are joining me or may well join me later. That wasn't too bad for a first attempt, I don't think. I'll have a watch back in a minute. So have a lovely day, enjoy your bank holiday. See you soon. Bye.